Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loud, a pop culture podcast, our special event series, Ranked and Reviewed, where we are ranking every Scream movie in the franchise, and we are up to Scream number 4. I am your host, Tomye West. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Alanis Maximus. And before we quickly get into it, this episode of Loud is always sponsored by Smooth My Balls. Make sure you're using that Smooth My Balls gear when you get 20% off by using that link to keep your down there, active and tidy. So anyway, let's get straight down to it. Scream 4. This came out 2011. This was Wes Craven's final movie. He directed it, obviously. He was the director of all previous outings of this franchise. And yeah, this is the last one that we've actually seen in our Ranked and Reviewed series leading up to the new movie coming out on January 13th, which is really fucking close. So, yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited for the new one. So anyway, before we get too heavily into it, I want to get your thoughts. What were your thoughts on this movie, man?
I liked it. It's weird. I didn't pick up on it as much. I'm not sure if it maybe wasn't there or if I just didn't pick up on it, but it didn't seem as detailed as the others. But overall, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I felt the same. I felt like it was harder to kind of dissect who the killer was in moments, except for a few obvious. Like, we'll get into it. There's a scene that's quite obvious who it is. There's a couple that are quite obvious. But I believe that this was not. I believe this was another one with multiple endings they chose from. I believe they had multiple different ideas for the killers at the end. And I believe that they added one of the killers in at the last moment kind of thing, which we'll get into a little bit more. But before we do that, I'll give my thoughts. I really liked it. I liked it. I'm just going to say it straight up. I liked it more than the third. But I'll save my surprise rank for later on. Before we get into it, a little bit more of our own thoughts and sort of things we noticed, we'll read a few little trivia moments, this is obviously the last film directed by Wes Craven before he died from brain cancer on August 30th, 2015 at the age of 76. I'm just trying to look through to see more cool. I can't talk right now.
Cool more.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. For the first time in the franchise, a CGI added knife was used because director Wes Craven wanted to avoid using prop knives that are rubber, cardboard, and collapsible. I didn't even notice.
Neither did I. Decent CG then.
Yeah.
Could you imagine acting it and pretending to hold a knife? It would be weird.
That just blows my mind now, man, because now I want to go back and rewatch it simply for the fact of wanting to see what the knife looks like now.
Yeah.
So we're not up to a knife part yet. Dewey's limp, a result of a stab wound in the first film and shown to be quite prominent in the sequels, is no longer present. Though not explained on screen, the script dismisses it quickly with a screen direction note. His limp is nearly non-existent. Years of physical therapy. Thank you. Thank you, Wes Craven, and whoever made that decision, because as we've talked about many a times, that limp drove me crazy in this series.
Yep.
Drove me super crazy. So I wanted to get in a couple of little things, like what did you notice? Anything in this film that you noticed?
There was more throwbacks and little things more than actual, I guess, details with the killer. But there's a couple things I liked. Like there was the bust statue for was it Henry Winkler?
Yep.
He obviously died in the first movie, the principal. And one thing I liked as well, after the first kill, all the kind of teenagers were sitting around the same fountain as the first one, having pretty much the same sort of conversation.
Yep.
I thought that was a very nice kind of throwback.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I liked that it made a lot of references to itself like that as well, and kind of it was a nice touch and a bit of, I guess, nostalgia to a degree as well.
Yeah, well, I felt like it did cover a lot of those bases, which was really cool. But what I did notice with Ghostface actually is this Ghostface sounded a lot more on the phone, a lot more frustrated, and a lot more quick to
Anger.
Like,
Yeah, definitely.
Like I don't know if you remember the part. This is quite obvious when it's Charlie that's hiding in the closet, but not in the closet that you think he's hiding in.
Yeah.
He's like, "I told you, this is not fucking Greg," or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he's really like quick to anger, quick to get frustrated, and I kind of felt like that was fitting for Charlie, the character. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like his character, when you could imagine him being in that costume, standing in that closet, getting frustrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
So that was one of the moments that I did notice that was clearly Charlie. That was that was the killer that time. What did you think about the big reveal when he was sort of strapped to the chair towards the end, and Kirby didn't want to let him in, and then had to play the game, and then went out and got stabbed by him? Because we are talking about the director's cut and all this. I'm not sure what made it into the original cut. I haven't watched the theatrical cut myself for a long time, probably since the theater. So, what did you think about that part?
I wasn't too surprised with him being the killer. I think he was the more obvious of the two.
Yep.
I didn't pick Jill.
Yep.
Yes, Jill. I didn't pick Jill as the killer. I think that was the biggest surprise for me. But he was kind of the one that I don't know if it's just because Rory Culkin's kind of a seedy looking guy anyway.
Yeah.
But that whole kind of movie, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was you. And the whole kind of
you just said, I didn't even realize that was one of the Culkins again.
Yeah, it's
and he does look like he does.
Actually, I didn't know until I watched it, and I'm like, looks like Macaulay Culkin. He's got to be a relation. But yeah, little brother.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's There's just something about him. It might have just been kind of just my perception that even like I might have even thought if he wasn't the killer, I'm like, this guy looks shady. But
yeah,
he wasn't too surprising to me.
And did you notice the part that I talked about where they said, "This is real life. It's not a movie," and he said, "It will be one day." And then Ghostface later on, they say, "This isn't a fucking movie," and he goes, "It will be one day."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's pretty cool, man." Like, I don't know if people would have noticed that on the first watch through and really like paid attention to it, but it kind of was thrown in your face about who it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think but there was less. I think he was the main killer as well. Like a lot of the kills, I'm fairly certain were him. I don't think there was a lot of chopping and changing between the two in this one.
Well, who's definitely the guy that was in the parking garage.
Yeah. I also noticed that the kills and kind of the graphic scene. I think it's the most bloody Scream movie. Like I think they kind of. I don't know if it's an overcompensation or just the style of the time, but definitely a lot more grotesque with some of the things. Like I think it was the closet kill. You pretty much entrails hanging out, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, and I thought the whole room like being soaked in blood, basically, like the walls were covered in blood, everything was covered in blood. I definitely appreciated the tense moments in it, like the car park scene where she's in the car park and she tries to run back to the door and it's locked and she's in the car and he's like, I think he's on top of the car at one point. Yeah,
on the car, the top, then the bonnet, and he kind of fucks there with the knife, kind of thing.
Yeah, no,
I like as well. He's back to his old Ghostface, back to fucking with them, like Billy.
Yeah, like Billy. did in the first movie with Billy and Stu.
Yeah, and even when Gale gets stabbed at the Stabathon, he does a similar sort of thing. Like he's blanking out the cameras, and the last camera, he turns the camera into his face and kind of gives it a look, and then
Interesting fact. I owned the cloak that was used in this movie, especially for the barn part. I owned the mask that was used in this director's cut, where the barn's on fire, and you see one of the masks that's burnt. That was the mask that I owned as well. So that was interesting to watch, just for a simple fact of like another part that I could spot for myself. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh, I used to own that cloak and that mask and whatever. So that's pretty cool. But what did you think about? This is what we wanted to bring up. What did you think about all the stab movies here, like at the beginning?
It was an interesting intro. Like I completely forgot that they kind of did that movie within a movie within a movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I liked it. So it's kind of like, like especially not remembering watching it. It's like, it's clever.
I really like what's her name from that movie that I always think about where she's like the famous movie star and breaks that dude's heart, and he goes to that resort, and she's there with Russell Brand. What's her name? I've got the page open here. Hold on.
I can't remember her name.
I'm looking. Hold on. I really liked her at the start as like a sort of a cameo appearance. And you know what? I can't be bothered. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The chick.
Yes.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I can't remember her name, but the chick who played Sarah Marshall. She was really awesome at her cameo appearance at the start, where she's sitting there and she stabs her, and just shut the fuck up and watch the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool. What did you think about the whole after Scream 3, Neve Campbell being a women's helpline sort of worker, and then in this one being like a full-blown writer, doing the whole Gale Weathers thing and doing a book called, is it Coming Out of the Darkness or something like that? What did you think about that whole thing, like plot line, and that she's like sort of on her own book tour and doing Woodsboro, I think is the last stop or something like that?
I think it was interesting because she was very very wanting to kind of vanish in the last one. In this one, she's kind of putting herself as pretty much in the public eye as she can.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of growth of the character, maybe. But at the same time, it's a big step. I don't know if I was Sydney, I don't think I would do that. If I'd had someone trying to kill me 3 times across my life, I'd stay with, hey man, I'm going to be a ghost.
Like, yeah, exactly. Maybe just not in the middle of nowhere though. You know, maybe a ghost in the middle of New York City might be a better option. You know.
Yeah.
And also, what did you think about like all these characters' growths? Like, what did you think about Gale Weathers and Dewey living together in Woodsboro? What did you think about like all the people that have been able to come back into this movie? Sort of, how do you feel that they grew? Do you think they grew in a believable way? I just don't feel like I believe that Gale would have stayed in Woodsboro and kind of put her whole career on the line after seeing how cutthroat she was throughout the other 3. I don't know. How do you feel about the growth of the characters?
I think it's a little unbelievable with Gale as well. Yeah. I like that Dewey is he's not that awkward dude anymore. He's kind of, I guess, grown up and become more sure of himself, which I like. But yeah, I agree with you. I couldn't see Gale throwing a career away with how brutal she was as a reporter and kind of the steps she took.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a little bit strange to me as well. Like, in the same sort of way that Sydney was. It was like, I don't know if they actually would have taken that path.
Yeah, well, the other one I wanted to ask you about was, did you have, through the whole movie, I swore that it was going to be Dewey's lieutenant cop lady
Yes.
And
Yes.
I feel like that was obviously on purpose. That they drove her into, like, especially when she's standing in that freaky ass corner in Sydney's house, and Sydney's like turns around, and she's like just comes out of the darkness like this fucking monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, like and used to sit in Sydney Prescott as well, in a class, which even to me made it seem more like, oh, this is, she's the one that sort of, gets made to feel like the one you should keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Um, and I also I thought that, again, I thought there was a shot that it could be Kirby, which I didn't think would ever, like, I knew it wouldn't be her, but I felt like they could have rolled that into something because, again, Kirby's one of the most likable ones in the movie. I feel like she is anyway. She gives me like the Stu, the Mickey vibe, not the same character portrayal, but the same feeling of like you want to be that person's friend. You know what I mean? I don't know if you felt the same with Kirby or not.
Definitely, she was the charismatic kind of cool kid.
Yeah.
Trevor was an interesting one as well. He was like an amalgam of Billy and can't remember the character name, but Jerry O'Connell's character.
Yes.
The way he was kind of treated, which is very interesting. He's another one that I was half expecting, half not expecting to be the killer. It's like, which angle are they taking here? Because they almost replicate the cut on the arm scene, and that was with Jill. Sorry, yeah, they kind of the his whole vibe. He's kind of in between the two.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of like, is this a misdirect, or are they going to go with this again? I've kind of had my suspicions about him for a bit as well.
Yeah.
Interesting fact too. When he gets kidnapped, I noticed. I haven't confirmed it, but I'm pretty damn sure he's wearing the same clothes as the dad in the first one when he's tied up.
Yes, I believe
Very
that might
similar.
be correct. Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt the same way about him. But almost felt like the longer the movie went on, the more I liked him.
Yeah.
Like when he rocked up to the house, at Kirby's house at the end, towards the end, I kind of felt like at that point that it definitely wasn't him.
Yeah.
Like through the whole movie, I feel like he was cemented as someone you should be looking at. But then when he rocks up and then he's just like, I was called here. I swear to God, I was called here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, he was kind of just playing like, what are you guys up to? You know, like, I felt like he was like, I was like, this guy's all right. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of a seed bag, or it seems like he's a bit of a seed bag or whatever. But that brings us to the most important person we should talk about. What do you think about Jill?
Jill was that got me when I first saw the movie. Obviously, this time I knew, but the first time I watched the movie, I did not see it coming. She's a pretty perfect what's the word I'm looking for? Successor to Sydney. Like she was a really good victim, and it blindsided me that she was the killer. There was nothing sinister about her. There was no real kind of dodginess to her.
Yeah.
Like, when you look back and you know that obviously she took Trevor's phone and was making the calls from it, that's pretty apparent. But when you don't know, it's she's really well masked, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I really, really enjoyed when she's throwing herself around at the end, and throws herself into the glass table and runs herself into the walls and gets Trevor to rip her hair out when he's like lying on the ground. Oh, we're forgetting he gets shot in the dick.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I forgot about that part, man. She shot him in the cock, man. Poor dude, man. Like, Jesus. But yeah, and what did you think about at the end when see what apparently was supposed to happen was at the end of the movie it was supposed to, because this was supposed to be a new trilogy, yeah?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, apparently Jill was supposed to be coming out on the stretcher and everyone's taking photos and stuff, and then you were supposed to hear from someone on the inside of the house. One of them's breathing. We got someone breathing, and then it was going to cut out, and that was going to be the end of the movie. So that in the second one it picked back up, but we didn't know if that was going to be Kirby or Nev Campbell, Sidney Prescott at the end, or whoever was in the house. That was, you know what I mean. We weren't sure who was going to be breathing, who was going to be alive until the second one. I'm having a tough memory of who was actually down at the end. I think it was Sydney and Kirby, I believe.
Yeah.
But I also, what did you think about when she found out that Sydney was still alive in the hospital and went to all those measures to kind of get to her and stuff? What did you think about that whole
I
ending?
liked that ending. It was different. It wasn't the usual. They found out who they have the final fight, and it's over. I liked that it kind of had that. She almost got away, and then there's that stupid little hole that gave her away, and yeah, I think it was nice ending that way. And when I first saw it, I half expected her to get away with it as well, her to just kind of like get out and go.
Yeah.
But I liked that they changed it up, and it was kind of the fake out that actually was a fake out, and she almost succeeded, and then yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool, man. Because I felt like this is the first Scream movie that kind of went off structure. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like all the others have like the sort of standard beginning, middle, end. You know, like you've got the big kill at the end or whatever. I mean, at the start, you've got like, you know, the down spiral of everything happening around Sydney, or around other people that are related to Sydney, and then you've got the big climax to the reveal, and then the end sort of just kind of happens. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like this one had its own structure where, again, it wasn't just one kill at the start; it was multiple kills because it was movie in a movie in a movie in a movie. Then it was, you know, probably your stand-up build-up to your party scene, which is like the barnhouse part, the stabathon, where that would kind of be almost like your wrap-up towards the end, your big reveal, and then, but instead it kept going. You know what I mean? And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. What did you think about the runtime of the director's cut, and what do you remember? Do you remember it adding much more than what you remembered in the first place?
The only thing I think, I'm not sure if I'm fairly sure it's in the director's cut, but not the original. Is it off-screen killing Sydney's dad?
Yep.
But outside of that, it still flowed fairly well. Like, it didn't feel like there was anything unnecessary that made the movie kind of cut out. Like I couldn't actually pick that much that I went, oh, that's new. It just kind of flowed really well still. So I enjoyed having the extra half an hour or so on it.
It was definitely the longest of the three by watching the director's cut. I'm not aware if there are any director's cuts of the original three, to be honest. I think those cuts are just the cuts that were released. I don't think there are any further cuts. I don't know. I'd have to look into it because that'd be interesting to see what would be added into a director's cut on the others. But as far as I'm aware, there are no multiple cuts of the other films. I don't know what has this movie done for you that has made you excited for what they're doing in the next one?
I think one thing is kind of messing with the formula they use. It's going to be interesting to see if they try and go back to the kind of the formula the first three had of like the beginning, middle, and end.
Yep.
It'll also be interesting to see the little doors that are kind of opened and then just left in the air to see if any of that comes back into it, like Stu being in the background in the second movie.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it's already been. I think you were saying it's already been kind of debunked, but Kirby not being dead, like you see, reappears, but I don't think she's going to. I think they pulled the plug on that.
Yeah. Well, that Wes Craven had the idea that she never died and wanted her to continue on in the next one. And Kevin Williamson always wanted her to be dead. And so when Wes Craven passed away and they started working on this new one, Kevin Williamson completely scrapped the idea of Kirby coming back, so she won't be back, which is disappointing because I kind of like that character a lot. So
yeah, especially It's always the same three now. Like after the first one, you had a couple of extras. Like you had Randy, who obviously died, but it's always just been Sydney, Dewey, and Gale.
Yeah,
But it'd be nice to have another survivor who's been through it to maybe some live or die in the next movie.
yeah, exactly. And what did you think about the whole again the film aspect where it's they're mentioning films, they're saying this is got its own rules and things like that. Do you think that it's still being played out too much in these movies, and do you hope that in the new one that they change that up? Because for me, I feel like it doesn't need to be as um, prominent in the movie, but it is very prominent. So
Yeah, I think they eased it a little bit. Like there's not as many kind of movie references and things, but I agree with you. I think it could be eased off a little bit more. So hopefully that's the beginning of it kind of phasing out for this next movie.
yeah, well, we've already seen in the trailer for the next one where Dewey says there are rules to surviving this, so we know that those rules things are going to be coming back. But I'm hoping because this is now the fifth in the series, and there are a lot of number fives in horror series, but I do feel like there are less rules that when it comes to like if you think about genre movies, slasher films, exploitation films, the rules when it comes to number fives are usually there are none. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sort of you kind of have to go off the rules. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to me, I don't know. There would be no rules for number five because all the number five movies are usually pretty shithouse in the series of the movies. Like Halloween five. I'm not sure about which one Jason number five is, but I'm pretty sure it's not very loved. Um, I don't know about Nightmare on Elm Street either. There are other ones we'd have to look into, but I'm pretty sure that all the number fives, there are really no rules when it comes to these sorts of movies. So,
Yes.
um, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what these rules are to surviving a fifth installment in a series. You know what I mean? But I do like the direction that they're going in with Dewey for this new one compared to the other previous ones, where Dewey looks like he's just a tired old man who's now out to fucking die or kill this dude and put an end to it for once and for all. Which we know there's not. We know there'll be a Scream 6. We all know it. So I don't know. How do you feel like these characters? Do you think that any of these characters in this one were set up to go in a certain direction for this new one, or do you feel like in this new one that they're all gonna? It's sort of a beginning, a whole new clean slate because the Scream Four didn't really go the way that they wanted to, with box office and with popularity and with all that.
I reckon it's going to go a bit of the way of The Force Unleashed, and we're going to see across the next three movies or two movies, whatever they do. I reckon we're going to start to see Dewey, Gale, and Sydney killed off. Like, I reckon at least one of them's going to die in this one, and I also think if they all survive again, there's something wrong. I don't think they should.
The word is, and this is just rumors. This is not spoilers. I have no idea what's going to happen in the new one. To be honest, I've read a lot into it, but it's all hearsay at the moment. But I do believe that I feel like this is at least Dewey's last outing. I do believe that this is going to be Dewey's last stand. I don't think Sydney Prescott will die simply just for the fact that she is a mother now in this new series. She's got a baby. In trailer, we've seen her, pushing the pram, things like that. So I don't feel like she will die. I feel like she'll kind of get a saving grace, but I do feel like Dewey he's on the clock. So I mean, out of this one, I mean, what would you compare this movie to in the others in the franchise?
Definitely better than 3.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely better. I think they're back in form. I'd say very close to 2. It's a hard decision, but I think 2 I'll put like an inch above.
Yeah.
I think it still incorporated more noticeable like little things, whereas this one, well, it was really good. It didn't have that aspect. Like I didn't have as many kind of things to pick up on it. So I think that's the one kind of thing that puts it below it.
Yeah. So I'm going to surprise everyone with my review, my ranked and reviewed right now, and I'm going to put this baby at number 2 on my ranked and reviewed list. So it's going to go Scream 1, Scream 4, Scream 2, Scream 3.
Uh-huh.
I just believe that this was a more enjoyable movie. I just believe that there was no dance scene. There was no weird things like that. No theater shit. You know what I mean? Where it was just like this movie felt like there was no moments that got that low for me. Like, as I said, that was the lowest point in any Scream movie for me, and the most sort of like, oh, I'm bored now, you know, part where, you know, it took me completely out of the movie. It completely fucked with my senses of what was going on. You know what I mean? I was like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. You know what I mean? So in this movie, I mean, I had a few moments where there was like parts that didn't make sense. I mean, the whole part where the cops were like, I went this way and I saw someone run off that way. And then the other cop was like, yeah, and I went this way and someone turned around and walked back that way. Those were the moments that threw me out of this movie where it was like, but if you're trying to add up who was together and who was inside and how the killer did all this, that's some crazy teleportation skills that this ghost got, you know? But it just didn't have any moments as low as the Scream 2 moment, you know, for me. It was all sort of like smooth running and enjoyable and fun. And yeah, I just didn't find it having any low points like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that that's validation for my pick, I guess?
Definitely. And I mean, it's a hard decision, but yeah, I definitely think that's a good validation for it. Whereas me on the flip side, I think the that kind of the teleportation, the lack of little details. So I think it's I definitely get where you're coming from there. So I agree as well. But yeah, it's a tough way up. I think if we could put them on even, I'd say they both have their strong and weak points. But I don't want to do that, and I want to keep it separate. So yeah.
No, I mean, that's it, man. That's what this whole show is about, man, is ranking and reviewing these, and we're both not going to have the same ranks and reviews towards the end, you know what I mean? I know that, you know, I'm an outlier probably by saying this is definitely the best one since the first, but I just believe that it felt the most horror-like.
Yeah.
As a whole movie, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like Scream 1 had the same feel, where it felt dirty, it felt gory, it felt gross, but it also was entertaining and it had some characters in it that were fun. There were characters in it you hated, but in Scream 2 it almost felt like it was not a parody of itself, but it was like a step down in the scary factor and more of like, yeah, this is an entertaining watch, just like Scream 3 was, where it's Scream 3, not that they were close. Scream 2 still is a way better movie than Scream 3. But Scream 3 has the same sort of feel to me with Scream 2, where it's an entertaining watch and it's got scary moments, but it doesn't have that horror movie vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whereas Scream 4 definitely feels like you're watching a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like, I remember seeing Scream 4 in the cinema and being like, this feels like a horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't feel like the others feel anywhere near as scary or gory or gross. And that kill that we talked about of, you know, the one in the bedroom, the closet, like, there's no scenes on Scream 2 or Scream 3 that kind of reach that level of messiness and grossness. You know what I mean? That's what, if we're talking about this as a horror series, that's why I'd put Scream 4 up front with Scream 1, because it brought back that vibe of watching a horror movie. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I also think that the reveal of the killer was the most exciting reveal since the first one as well. Like, I feel like Roman was boring as a
Definitely.
killer. I feel like his reveal was kind of shit. I also feel like his motive was too convoluted, too long. We got too much of a long story behind it about why this is and how this happened, and it all happened like off script, off screen, completely in a different time. You know what I mean? With Scream 2, as I said, I felt like the whole reporter going from reporter to Billy Loomis's mother without nobody having a fucking clue. Like, you know, I just found it weird that, like, Sydney never saw her around the school campus in Scream 2 when she was around Gail Weathers a hell of a lot, and, you know, around the whole campus a hell of a lot. And then at the end, we see her get revealed, and Nev Campbell sees her straight away and is like, Mrs. Loomis? And I'm like, she hasn't been hiding this entire movie. She's been out in the middle of the campus. So that reveal to me was kind of weird. The first one has always the greatest reveal, you know what I mean? So I just feel like comparing the reveals, comparing the feel of the movie, and comparing the level of sort of violence, goriness, and scariness to it, that Scream 4 definitely hits closer to the first one in trueness to what the series should be than the others do, and that's just my opinion. I don't know if that makes you feel any different. Probably doesn't. I know you've got a Scream 2 feel. I know you really like Scream 2. I know that you thought that was your favourite one up until we reviewed and ranked these series, but if I put it in that aspect, I don't know if that helps people understand, including yourself, why I made that decision. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely, you've got some good points, and yeah. Excuse me.
No, that's all right, man. That's all right. I'm throwing up at my own decision too. Don't worry. Because I honestly didn't think that was going to be my decision going into this. I had to have a long, hard think about where I was going to put this movie, man. And I kept going, does it go above Scream 2? Does it not? Does it? And eventually I just came to the conclusion that it does, you know, in my opinion. So
I'm still interested to know if anyone out there thinks Scream 3 is better than 2 or 4. Or even at the top.
There are people out there that I've heard that do think Scream 3 is the best movie. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're smoking.
No.
Because it doesn't even come... While we said it, we don't hate it, and while we said it's not a bad movie, it is not a good Scream movie. And that's what it all comes down to at the end. So, yeah, I know that there's going to be a few people that probably watch this and are probably booing me right now and are ready to throw me into the fire, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm willing to be thrown into the fire, but let's just hold up and wait, because we could all be surprised by the end of this ranked and reviewed series when we see the new one in the series. So, yeah, I mean, look, we don't want to drag these ranked and reviewed out longer than we have to. That's why they've been, you know, pretty an hour long most of the time. Because of Christmas, because of everything that's going on, you know, we've tried to have to fit this in kind of really quickly where we could. But, you know, we feel like we've still done this movie justice. Is there any closing things you want to quickly talk about before we kind of discuss what we're going to be doing next? Like, is there anyone you want to bring, like, honorable mentions of cast in this? Like, I did like the police officers.
Yes, their kills as well, like that stabbing in the forehead and the stumble around
and yeah, I love how the policeman was just taking the blind swings at him.
Yeah, that was, I think that was maybe one of my favorite scenes in the franchise as a whole at this point. That was just, it was gruesome.
It was.
And I think it was gruesome to the level that they had not gone before, which was.
I agree totally. I believe, and yeah, just the way that, you know, he managed to make these police, like, just disappear. Like, you know, he killed them in the middle of the street, and then their car was found around the block. You know, and they were both fucked up. I also really hated the one that, this is the scene you can see behind me now. I really hated her.
The publicist.
The publicist, Nev Campbell's publicist.
I still like it that how hateable she is as well. Her death is essentially, she didn't need to die because she was fired.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying watching her die.
I almost feel like she almost became the new Gail Weathers.
Yes.
Which would have been nice to have her around for a little bit longer so that her kill was even sweeter in like the next movie or whatever, you know what I mean? But that's the scene we're talking about right now with the parking garage. We brought that up. And yeah, I mean, I just want to, a big shout out to Kirby because I thought she was probably one of the most interesting people in the film, the most fun. The one that, as I've said, seemed like, the one that you want to get to know the most. So I really liked her. I didn't really like, what's his name, McCulkin's character in it that much. He did seem like a bit of a seed bag, but he also did seem like just like film school students at the same time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Very film school student. And that guy that had his camera on backwards the entire time while he was drunk. Couldn't work that shit out. Ghostface just following him and shit. But yeah, no, it was a good movie, man. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for number 5. So basically, because right now this will be released on the 28th, we actually have a little while before the new one comes out. We have 13 days, which is going to be the longest period we've gone in our ranked and reviewed series without finishing our ranked and reviewed series, you know. So what's going to happen is next week we are going to be reviewing, just for a bit of fun, we're going to be reviewing the movie Straight Outta Compton, which I'm sure some of you guys have seen the trailer. If not, we're going to watch that, I don't know, sometime. We're going to organise that in the next week. It might not be up on the same day, Tuesday. We're going to work this out. This is something we'll have to work out. But so we're going to review Straight Outta Compton just for a bit of fun. I thought it was something that I wanted to talk about at length, and I thought maybe Alan might enjoy, talking about it with me. It is a good movie. I don't know if you've seen it before, Alan. If you haven't, it's a really good movie.
I've seen I think about a year ago it was on late night TV, and I saw like the last 3/4 to the last half.
Yep.
It's something I've been meaning to watch again. So
definitely. So that'll be fun. So we're going to review that next week. And then we're going to get straight back into it with our Scream 5 review, where we're going to be finishing up this special series of ranked and reviewed Scream. And that'll be when everyone gets our final tally of our ranks of these movies. So if everyone wants to remember, Alan is Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3, right? And I am Scream 1, Scream 4, Scream 2, Scream 3. So we're pretty close. We're pretty even, but it's not quite even. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I hope you guys have enjoyed so far what we've done with this ranked and reviewed series, and we look forward to bringing you the final review in this. And we're actually going to bring it to you very quickly. So we've got to work out what we're going to do with spoilers with this one, with everything. It's going to be really hard, but very interesting to try and sort of navigate as well.
Yes.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, I am your host, Tomye West, and this is Alanus Maximus. If you haven't gone and liked our Facebook page, please go and like our Facebook page. It would mean a lot to us. Also, please like, subscribe, share, comment, do everything you can on our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. And we will see you for our next review of Scream 5 in this ranked and reviewed series on January 13th. See you all later.
Catch you later.